And this is part 1 of the Weather Basics slideshow. And the first slide deals with what is weather. It's the atmospheric conditions at a particular place and time. Things that contribute to the weather are things like temperature, cloud cover, precipitation, air pressure, wind speed, and wind direction. And we're going to talk a little bit about particularly air pressure. We'll talk a little bit about precipitation, things like that. But all of those things are elements that we look at when we're trying to describe what the weather is doing. Now, weather is different from climate. Climate is kind of the long-term pattern of expected weather at a particular place. So, for instance, you could say that the weather in Texas in the summertime is generally hot and dry. That's really a description of climate because it's not talking about what is happening at a particular day at a particular time. Because even though it's generally hot and dry, we do have some days that are cooler than others, and we do have days that we get some rain. But it's not very common, as you know, in the summertime in Texas. So weather is the conditions at a particular place and time. Climate is more of a general idea of what to expect over the long term. Okay? All right, so if you're looking for something to write for the first slide, I might write that climate is general conditions in an area. You know, what would you generally expect, but it's not necessarily what's happening right now. So climate and weather are different. All right, we're going to go on to slide number 2. If you need to, pause it for just a second so you can write in your little speaker notes. And then let's go to 2. Okay, we're going to talk about station models. Okay, first of all, I think it's probably easier if I actually show you a station model in action. Here we go. This is a map. This is a surface analysis map on the weather.gov page, which is run by the National Weather Service. And we have all of these different locations reporting weather data to the National Weather Service, and they compile all of that on to maps so that meteorologists can see what's happening in different places, and so that they, it'll help them make weather predictions. But this is probably not super helpful for the average person because there's a lot of symbols and it's all jumbled together, and it would be very frustrating to try to decipher what all of this means. Now, you're going to be a little bit smarter than the average person when we get done with this as far as what these things mean. So let's talk about that real quickly. So all of those locations were representing weather information with what's called a station model. Okay, the station model starts out with a circle. The circle marks the location on the map. So there would be a circle over Austin for the Austin station model. The circle is sitting on Austin on the map. The next thing that you need to know about the circle is they're going to color the circle in based on the amount of cloud cover present at that particular station. So, for instance, right now, I'm doing this on Sunday afternoon, the 30th of August, and it's pretty much hot and sunny outside. So most of the areas around us, we're in here somewhere, most of the areas around us are either completely clear or maybe just a little bit of cloud cover, okay? So what they're going to do with the circle is they're going to color it in based on cloud cover. So for instance, out here near El Paso, it's actually overcast because they colored the circle in completely. But most of the other locations in Texas are either clear or they are almost clear. All right, so the circle marks your location on the map, and then the circle is colored in based on cloud cover. The next thing we have is a wind vane, basically. It's a stick that's going to point into the wind. So for instance, on our example here, it's sticking up this way, which means the winds are coming from this direction into the station. So that would probably be winds out of the north-northwest, meaning they're not perfectly north, but they're definitely a whole lot more north than they are over here west. So it's going to point into the wind. So the wind is coming from the north-northwest in this example. And then these little flags are going to tell you wind speed. Now, wind speed, technically, for the meteorologists, is given in knots, which is a little bit different than miles per hour. For our purposes, since we're, not going to be meteorologists after this is finished, we're just going to fudge a little bit and just call it good at miles per hour. A full flag represents 10, and a half flag represents 5. Okay? So let's go back to this surface analysis. So you can see this station, for instance. It's clear, the skies are clear, and the winds are pretty much out of the south because it's pointing down. Okay? At, looks about maybe 10 miles an hour. Okay? As opposed to over here, it's clear, and the winds are, it's not perfectly south, probably mostly south, but a little west. We would call that south-southwest. And there's like a little half flag sticking up on it, so that would be maybe 5 miles an hour. Okay? Let's see if we can find one that's got some winds that are a little windier. Okay, so here's a location up in New Mexico, apparently in the mountains because it's also cooler there. It's clear, and the winds are coming into the station from the west for the most part, and there's a full flag and a half flag, so that's going to be 15. All right, so that is what the little flags mean. Okay, and then we have some numbers around the station. Always to the upper left of the station circle, that's where they put temperature in Fahrenheit. To the lower left, they're going to put dew point, and I'll explain dew point in a minute. To the upper right, they're going to put air pressure. Air pressure is a little tricky because what they've done is they have taken off the first couple of digits, being either a 9 or a 10 out here, and then they've also dropped the decimal. When you guys did lesson 4, I pointed out that normal surface air pressure is normally between 950 and 1050 millibars. So knowing that piece of information, if I put a 9 here and then I put my decimal back in here, that would be 910.7. That's too low to be normal in the normal range. So I know that really it should be 1010.7, so 1010.7. Okay? There's a little bit of a trick to the air pressure, but anyway, that's where it's represented. It's always to the upper right. Temperature's to the upper left, dew point is to the lower left. When dew point is very, very close to temperature, you know that the humidity is very, very high. Dew point gives you an idea of how much moisture there is in the air. And then if there's something special happening, like showers or thunderstorms, there's going to be a particular symbol right here. This shows you the pressure trend, but we won't worry about that too much. Okay? So what they've done is they have come up with a concise way of representing what's going on with the weather at a certain time at a particular location. Okay? And each weather element, temperature, sky cover, pressure, all of that stuff, has a certain location on the station model. Okay, so let's go over here and look at this one more time. So for instance, here, skies are clear, winds are out of the south-southwest at about 10 miles an hour. It's really knots, but we'll call it miles an hour. It's 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and the dew point is 64 degrees. Okay, remember, when these two numbers are really close, the humidity is high. And guys, honestly, you'd have to have a little dew point conversion chart to know exactly what the percent humidity was going to be based on those two numbers. And that's a little more than we're going to get into. But this is, this is how they use those station models to concisely represent weather happening all over from hundreds of station models. From hundreds of locations, putting their station models all on the same map. All right. So down here, you might want to put, National Weather Service uses station models for their weather maps or something like that. I don't know. You can say that temperature is always to the upper left and dew point is always to the lower left. Sky cover is going to be represented by coloring in the station circle. Something. Just a little extra to show me that you were paying attention.